To do elimination, the first thing is we have to decide which of this we need to eliminate, we want to eliminate. It's not a wrong choice, right? So we have to decide, do we want to eliminate x or y? Which one is easier? For me, this is easier because we have the same number. Okay? The only thing is we have to have one positive, one negative. It doesn't matter which one is positive or negative, right? So let's say that I want to make this number 6 a negative. To do that, I multiply everything down here by a negative 1. Okay? What that does is it changes that to a negative, that to a positive, that to a negative. If I multiply everything by negative 1. Alright? Now the reason I do that is because 6 minus 6 is 0. So I can eliminate those two. Okay? Next, what we do is we are solving for y. Negative 5y plus 3y. That would be a negative 2y. And then we have 34 minus 18. That's going to give you 16. Okay, so you divide by negative 2 to both sides. So y equals negative 8. Once you done solve for y, then what you do next is you are going to take this negative 8 and use one of this to solve for x, alright? So let me use the top one. So that's 6x minus 5 times a negative 8 equals 34. Alright, so I basically replace the y with the negative 8. Okay, then I'm solving for x. So 6x negative 5 times a negative 8, that's going to give you a positive 40 equals 34. Minus 40, minus 40. 6x, 34 minus 40 is negative 6, which means x is negative 1. So my solution for this system of equation is negative 1, negative 8. Alright, make sure x goes first, then y. And then you have something like this. If I look at this system of equations, right now I can see that the 2 and the negative 2 can be crossed out. So you don't need to multiply anything by negative 1, right? Because right here you can cross those out. I can cross out 2 and negative 2, that's 0. There's a 1 in front of this. So negative 8 minus 1 is negative 9y equals 24 minus 6. That's 18. Which means y is equal to negative 2. This right here would be the easiest to eliminate because we have same numbers going on. The only thing is negative 6 minus 6 is not going to give you a 0. So you need a positive and a negative. Okay? It doesn't matter which one is positive, which one is negative. Okay? Alright, so let me multiply everything on the bottom by negative 1 to make that a positive, which means that that's a negative 2, that's a positive 22. Okay? You can multiply negative 1 on top. Alright. Next, what you do is, those two are going to give you a 0, so you can eliminate your y variable. Negative 5 minus 2 is a negative 7x equal 34 plus a 22, that's a 56. Then you divide by negative 7 to both sides, so x equals a negative 8. Alright, we are going to use one of this. It doesn't matter which one you want to use, alright. So we have negative 5 times a negative 8 minus 6y equals 34. Then you solve for y. So negative 6y equals 34 minus 40. That would be a negative 6, which means y is a positive 1. So the answer is negative 8, 1. In order to do elimination, you must line up everything. Your x, your y, and your constant. Number 4, We don't have that. So the first thing you need to do is line up everything, okay? So you want your x, ax plus by equals c, alright? So if I look at the first equation, my 9, I gotta move the 9 to the left side of the equation. That become a negative 9x, alright? Because I move this over here. The 6y is on the correct spot, so that's plus 6y equal. The negative 30 needs to go to the other side. So negative become a positive. The second equation, my x is on the correct spot, is on the left side of the equal sign. So that's 5x. The y is on the wrong spot. Okay? So I gotta move it to the left side. That'll be negative 6y. The 14 is on the wrong spot. It needs to be on the right. So that's a negative 14. ax plus by equals c. Alright. The x, the wrong spot, needs to go to the left. Positive becomes a negative. The y is on the correct spot. That's 5y. Equal. That's on the correct spot, alright? That's on the right side of the equation, okay? The bottom 8x, this y needs to go over to the left side. That's minus 5y. And that 2 needs to go over the other side. That's equal to negative 2. So basically, you have this 2, where you can say, yeah, I can take those out, alright? And you can also say, yeah, I can take those out. Which means on the left side, that's basically a 0. When you eliminate something, it's a 0. On the right side, you can also say, yeah, I can take those out. That's also a 0. Okay, so here's a question, okay? Is 0 equal to 0? Is that true? Yes, then that would be all real numbers. Alright, or infinite solution, however you want to write it. Okay, now, if you get something like this, 0 equals 10 or something like that, then that's false. Then that's no solution. Okay? Alright, if it's false, no solution. If it's true, infinite many number solution. It's simple as to understand as possible. The goal is to eliminate one letter. Okay? So let's say I want to eliminate x, which means that the first thing I need to do is I need to make sure that the number in front of x are the same. Okay? That's the first thing. The second thing I need to make sure is that one is positive and one is negative, so I can cancel them out. Alright? So, for example, to make these two values the same, you need to multiply something. Alright? So, if you think of a number where I can divide these two evenly into, is 12. Now, if you cannot find that number, this is perfectly fine. All you do is you multiply the top by the bottom number. You multiply the bottom by the top number. Okay? This will work. Alright? Okay. So, let's do that first. Then we can change the sign a little bit. 4 times negative 3 is a negative 12x. 4 times 3 is positive 12y. 4 times a negative 3 equals a negative 12, right? Okay, I'm going to stop right there for a little bit. I'm not going to do this yet, okay? So here is the other thing. We already have a negative 12. We need a positive 12, okay? If I do 3 times a negative 4, that will give us a negative 12. I don't want a negative 12. I want a positive 12, which means that I want this 3 to be a negative 3 to get a positive 12. So, negative 3 times a negative 4 is a positive 12. That's what we want. That times that is a negative 27y, and that times that is the negative 18. So y equal to negative 3x plus 6 equals negative 3. The reason is 6 because 3 times 2 is 6. Okay? That means x equals negative 9 divided by 3 is 3. So that's 3 comma 2. So, it depends on which one you want to eliminate. All right. Some of you might be like, oh, I want to eliminate the smaller value because it's easier, and some of you like, whatever, I just eliminate that because it's first. It doesn't matter. Okay. So let's say we want to eliminate x, which means we need to make this value the same. All right. There are many ways of doing that. The first way is some of you might be like, oh, all I need to do is multiply that by 2, and it will be the same because 2 times 8 is 16. Okay. Now, and then there's some of you like, I don't understand why it's 2. Doing this, if you struggle, you can always do this. You multiply the top by the bottom number, and the bottom by the top number. Okay, that will work, but you're gonna get a huge number. Okay, so let me show you how that's gonna work. Right. So we have 8 times a negative 16. That would be 128x negative, and then 8 times a negative 6 is a negative 48y. 8 times a negative 28, that's a negative 224. Alright, okay, then we do the same in the bottom. Alright, we have a negative already. This is going to give us a positive, so we get to go. Alright, 16 times 8, that's 128x. 16 times 3, that's a positive 48y. 16 times 14, that's 224. Okay, alright, and then we just, that's 0. That's also 0. Negative 128, 128. Alright, that's also 0. So 0 equals 0. That means all real numbers for y and solve x. Alright, so negative 3x plus 3 times 2 equals negative 3. Solve for everything. X should be 3. Let me actually do this. Alright, let me do one more. Then I'm done for the day. Then you complete everything from 1 to 10. I did a good, I don't know, 5, 6 problems. Alright. Okay, the last one to do is number 9. Alright, first of all, rearrange. Second, create a common multiple. Third, eliminate. Okay, so rearrange. That's negative 14x minus 4y equals negative 22. Right, ax plus by equals c. That goes negative 14, negative 4, negative 22. Okay, that's on the correct side. Gonna move that over here, so minus 2y. And move that back on the other side, so negative 15. Alright, so for some of you, you look at this right here, you can say that, well, I just need to multiply the bottom equation by 2 to make the number the same. That works also. Okay, now if you struggle to understand the idea, what you can do is, again, you can multiply the top by the bottom coefficient of x and the bottom by the top coefficient of x. All right, this will always work. Okay, before we move on, you're gonna make sure one is positive, one is negative. Okay, so we have a negative. 7 times a negative 14 is a negative number. We need a positive, which means we do that. All right, so 7 times 14, negative 98x. 7 times 4, negative 28y. 7 times a negative 22. 7 times 2 is 14. 7 times 2 is 14. That's negative 154. Alright, so, okay, then the bottom one, that's a positive 98x. That's a positive 28y. 14 times 15, right? 4 times 5 is 20, carry a 2, that's 6 plus 5 is 11. 1 times 1, that's 210. And then eliminate, we can cross that out. We can also cross this out because that's also a 0, which means on this side just a 0. Over here, negative 154 minus 210, gonna give you 56. All right, so here's a problem. First of all, if this is a true statement, then it's our real number, infinite many solution. Okay, if this right here is a false statement, then it's no solution. All right, so 0 equals 56. That is a false statement. So it's no solution.